Hello, everybody. It's Pat Hand at Dancing Moon Travel, and I'm so excited about our guest today. Alaska is near and dear to my heart, and I absolutely loved the time I was able to spend in Anchorage. And we are so excited to welcome our special guest with us this evening, Tia Froehle, here from Visit Anchorage. Hi, Tia.
Hello, Pat. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you join us. Could you just start by giving us a quick glimpse of your background in the tourism industry? And by the way, I have noted those initials after your name, that CTC designation. Those of us who are travel agents recognize the significance and all the hard work that went into doing that.
Well, thank you, Pat. And I think we need to get the word out about what CTC and all that stands for, because it just brings up our tourism professional stance, right? Like it just shows that we go that extra mile. So, and I did that because my mom was a travel advisor. So that's how I got into this industry. I am a lifelong Alaskan. I absolutely love to talk about my back door, my home state, and then why I'm in tourism. It's one of the top industries here in Alaska besides oil and fishing. And then, like I mentioned, my mom was a travel advisor too. So my first jobs were in tourism. I was either the kid at the airport holding a sign, or, I mean, I'll date myself right now. Remember when you had tariff books and you had to hand write out tickets? My mom did that. And then, like, when they had to void them out, I got to void. I was the kid that got to void because I had all those carbon copies, so that's how it goes back. And then she worked at a travel school, so that's how I learned about education and continuing your education in tourism. So luckily I've worked for Holland America in Gray Line of Alaska here. Worked for them for about 10 years in the sales and marketing, and then moved to work for Alyeska Resort. And that is our big ski resort, but it's open year round here. So if you ever see itineraries, it is always tried to be included in summer because of all the hiking trails and just the beautiful resort itself. But then in the winter, that is where everyone's skiing. And I have to brag a little bit. We're the first resort to have over 500 inches of beautiful snow this season. So
500 inches. I'm thinking about that. That's just coming up on 5 feet.
Yeah, and it's been amazing. So we've had amazing skiing. You can do heli skiing, snowcat skiing, backcountry skiing, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing. So it's just this beautiful winter wonderland. So I worked there for about 4 years, and then kind of got out of the industry a little bit while I had my 2 little darling kids, and worked in events, but still kind of on the tourism side. And then now I've been with Visit Anchorage it'll be 8 years in April. And this is like my dream job, because I just get to talk about and educate people about Alaska. So
well, hopefully we're going to add to that and give you a good venue to do this. I love this image that you sent. I think that, that so much gives such a great overview of just, a little picture, a snippet of who you are. I just love that. I think that's great. So anyway, Tia, we always encourage our clients when they go to Alaska, if they're going for a cruise tour or for a southbound cruise, or get off on their northbound cruise, whenever possible, to plan to spend a little time, at least in Anchorage. But, I recognize that sometimes time, because it is a jumping off place for a tour or a landing spot after a cruise or whatever. So for those people who have maybe just a day or so up there, where the time is limited, what might you recommend to those people in the way of, by the way, I'm going to put up this image first.
Sure.
Just that's Anchorage, folks. Is it beautiful?
Yeah. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's quite a metropolis up there.
I think a lot of people are surprised because everyone thinks of Anchorage as, oh, that's where I just start and stop my tour, right? Like that's where the main airport is. So I just need to go in, get in and get out, and that's it. And then they get to Anchorage and they're like, Oh, wow. It's has all we say we're urban and wild here in Anchorage because we have all the amenities of a big city. We have amazing restaurants, absolutely. Uh, every culture you can find is here. We have three of the most diverse high schools in the US here that speak over 100 different languages. And people are surprised by that. So you can find
Yeah.
German food, Korean food, you name it, it's here. But then, of course, you're looking for that fresh, seafood too. But yeah, if you look at this picture again, then we have those
Okay.
mountains right behind us, right? So that's the
Yes.
Chugach Range, and that goes for 700 miles. So you have everything from downtown, the restaurants, the hotels, all the nightlife and city life, but then you're in the wilderness in 5 minutes. We
Yeah.
have trail systems everywhere. We have over 135 multi-use trail systems just in the Anchorage area. So
That is so cool. And Tia, it's so much better. I want to always impress on travelers. Plan now, spend the time. Don't be disappointed and say, "Oh, Anchorage was so cool." I hate that we didn't take a day or two at least to explore. So get it. What would you recognize? So just those people that have a day there, what kind of things would you maybe suggest that they might be able to do?
that's a great question because that happens all the time. So, okay, let's focus on just a day here in Anchorage. So, we're the cultural soul of Alaska. So, we have the most Alaska natives that live here in Alaska. So, I always say get to know them. They're fascinating. They're the first people of Alaska. We have 11 different indigenous native tribes here. They speak 22 different languages. So, we have either the Anchorage Museum here right in downtown Anchorage, which is just phenomenal. They just remodeled a couple years ago and they're constantly changing out their different exhibits that are just all about Alaska. But then we also have the Alaska Native Heritage Center, and there's a shuttle that goes between two of them too. So if you don't want to walk, and that's where you actually get to meet the Alaska Natives. You get to hear their stories. You kind of get the heartbeat of our Indigenous people because they do their native dancing, they do their storytelling, they do their Arctic games, and then you can walk around, and they have these 6 different village sites. So the 5 different regions of Alaska. They build their houses different. They hunt differently. They build, what they make their clothing out of is different. So you go around to the different village sites and you get to meet usually a high school student from that region, and they tell you about how it is living today in an Alaska Native village. So so must include culture, right? So
I totally agree with that. Yes.
that's a must. Another thing is just depending on what day you're here, we have a ton of outdoor fairs and festivals. So great for shopping because we have no sales tax here in Anchorage. So that's a good key right there. And then also because of our native population too. So it's great to buy from our Alaska Natives here in Anchorage. And most of them are at those outdoor fairs and festivals or at that Alaska Native Heritage Center as well.
Now, would you
Um,
find something like this maybe at one of those fairs an opportunity for
Yeah, a little gold panning. Absolutely. We have that just a little bit south of Anchorage that you can do some gold panning too. Because hey, there's still gold in these mountains here. I mean, that is still one of our industries here. So it's a trick to get that gold too. But yeah, a lot of fun. And then of course our restaurants. We have a great trolley tour. I love our trolley tour because it kind of gives you that our history. We are a very young city. We only became a state in 1959. And then we have our Alaska Zoo, which is in a borealis forest. So if you actually want to see a polar bear, we have a polar bear at our Alaska Zoo. And then all the like Arctic and subarctic animals. And it's just this just beautiful setting. And if you can go behind the scenes with the zookeeper, it's really fun. Oh gosh. And then maybe add a guided hike. Maybe you want to get out into the wilderness because we have all these trails. You're not sure how to do it. We have guided hiking. You can go on a fat tire bike. We have the e-bikes too. So if you don't want to do all that work, we have those e-bikes that'll take you around. And our trails are just beautiful because when you're on our trails, guess what you're looking for? You're looking for wildlife.
and
You're
I
constantly
actually
seeing
I
wildlife.
that I have seen that people actually you have a river running right through downtown and people actually are out there with their hip waders on. They're fishing right there in
Downtown
Downtown.
Anchorage.
Yeah.
Yes, Pat, you're absolutely right. It's called Ship Creek. And it is literally, I'm in my office today on 4th Avenue, right in downtown Anchorage. And on 1st Avenue is Ship Creek. And we get 3 different salmons. We have 5 different salmon species here in Alaska. 3 of them run through that creek. So you can actually go fishing right here in downtown Anchorage, or you can just go watch locals. That's where locals go to catch their dinner. You'll see me down there.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Now, what about we've been successful. We've actually got somebody to plan 3 or 4 days up in the area. So yeah, let's put up this image. Now, thank you for this. This kind of gives a little bit of a kind of an overview for people to see the area here.
I know there's just so much to do just in Southcentral. I love this map too, because this shows not only summer, but winter. So we are open year round here, but how many activities and tours that you can do using Anchorage as a base camp. And this is a great map that shows that. So let's just say you have, 4 days, 3 to 4 days here in Anchorage. So that first day you're doing that citywide adventures like we talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
The museums, the cultural, outdoor festivals, concerts, going fishing maybe. But then maybe the next day we want to head south. So when we said head south of Anchorage, we can go all the way to the town of Girdwood, where Alyeska Resort is. But not only we can go to Spencer Glacier, maybe if you're looking for a little bit wilder, and go kayaking up to a glacier, or you can go into Prince William Sound, the most glacier-fed sound in the world. They have over 10,000 glaciers in Prince William Sound, but you can take a cruise. You can sit back and drink a glacier margarita and see 26 different glaciers in 5.5 hours. So, 26 different glaciers in 5.5 hours.
One of the things that we did when we were up there, we went on a drive. We went up by Turnagain Sound.
Turnagain Arm. You're on
Turnagain Arm. Yes, that's what. And then we ended up at this center where they had the show with the glacier reveal at the end.
Oh, at Portage Glacier. That's Portage Glacier. Yeah.
It was breathtaking. It's one of those things that I've never forgotten, because it was just like they opened those curtains and it's just like you could just hear everybody. It was so breathtaking.
I mean, glaciers is what you need to experience here, right? In Alaska, we have over 100,000 glaciers. You can visit 60 different glaciers within a 2-hour radius of Anchorage. Like, whether you want to hike on a glacier, do you want to take a day boat, to a glacier? Do you want to kayak, raft to a glacier? You want to take a helicopter and land on a glacier and do a dog sledding tour. There's just so many glacier adventures that has to be added to your.
So anybody who really is fascinated by glaciers, they could spend a week and just explore, just really feed their passion.
Absolutely. You can see the glacier behind me on my little backdrop. I'm fascinated by our glaciers here. And in fact, last weekend, you can do them in the winter too. And they change all the time, right? So I went to Mananuska Glacier and over to Nelchina Glacier. And even as a lifelong Alaskan, I'm just amazed on their changing. And some, especially in the wintertime, you can go into big ice caves. I went into probably the largest ice cave I've ever been in my life. And it's just like this big wave, but it's all from a glacier. Ancient ice. This is like thousands of years old ice that you're just.
And there you are in it.
Yeah. Exactly. So definitely lots of glacier opportunities here. And then another day that's the Wildlife Conservation Center, which is south too, which is over 200 acres. And again, it's only for injured and orphan animals. But man, this is the bear walk. You get such great photos of either the grizzly bears. There's 3 grizzly bears on one side, and then there's 2 black bears on the other side. They have wolves, they have bison, they have eagles, they have wolves. I mean, just an amazing facility. I love that one.
That is gorgeous.
Lots going down at Turnagain Arm. And just Turnagain Arm is on the Seward Highway. Out of Anchorage, there's only 2 highways, and we say, but to lots of adventures. One is the Seward Highway, which is going along Turnagain Arm, which is one of the most scenic highways in the world, because you're looking for wildlife constantly. We get a pot of beluga whales into Turnagain Arm.
Yeah. Oh, that was. We didn't see any the day we were there, but those are the most amazing creatures.
They're gentle.
And see them right there in the wild. We miss them, but what.
They're amazing.
And going by there one way, the tide was in, and then going back, it looked totally different because it was low tide. So
Yes, our tidal changes are huge here. And in fact, that's kind of a
amazing.
unique thing about Turnagain Arm is it gets the second highest bore tide because it comes into such a narrow arm. So it's just one wave when that change comes in, and you just see this wave come through. And people actually surf it. So if you have very active clients, they can actually learn to surf the bore tide here, but they have to be pretty good at surfing because our water's a little colder than most places, especially there in
Yeah.
Florida.
Yes, yes, I would not be up for that. There
So lots of stuff. And then another day you can go north. So then we did all our adventures south one day. Next day, let's go north for the day. And this is on our Glen Highway. And now we could go out to, if they happen to be here in August or September, we have a beautiful state fair. Palmer Wasilla area is kind of our agricultural part of Alaska. That's where all our fresh grains and vegetables and beef comes from. A lot of people are surprised we have farms here, but that's our Midwesterns that got moved here in the early 1900s. Built our farms here too. So lots of, you can do a farm tour. There's again, more glaciers that way. That's where Matanuska Glacier is, where I went to explore. That's a really cool one to hike on. And then depending on how long you have, you can get all the way up to the town of Talkeetna. Talkeetna is one of my favorite little towns. And it's kind of, if you remember that show, Northern Exposure,
Yeah.
it's based off of that. It's one of the great places where three rivers meet. You can see on a clear day Denali and the whole Alaska Range is right there. The mayor's a cat. It's very unique.
Wow.
And you can take the train up during the day. You can do all these activities in Talkeetna and then make it back to Anchorage at night.
Get that afternoon train back. Here's one that I would have never expected in Alaska.
Oh yeah, I mean we have it all, just depending on what adventure level you want. So yeah, that's right over Turnagain Arm there. So a lot of people take the little bit of that wind that they get there, and you'll either be
That
out there surfing.
that
They use those kite surfs out there too when that wind picks up, and
oh,
lots of hiking
just
trails too. You can get right to a peak. As you can see, we're at sea level too, right? So many peaks to hike as well.
just so many options. What surprises people, do you think? What is the thing that, if you had to say what surprises people most when they visit Anchorage?
I
Couple.
Sure, yeah. No, we hear that all the time. I think the biggest surprise is that they're so surprised how much there is to do, right? There's
Okay.
so much of Alaska just right here, because again, they just think, oh, I fly into Anchorage and I got to get out to all these other amazing places that we have, which I get. But then they realize, gosh, I could have just spent more time in Anchorage and done everything I wanted to do and not have to travel so far. So I think that's probably the most surprising is how much we are a cool city, but with all that wilderness surrounding us that give them everything on almost their bucket list that they had.
Yeah. I think two things that surprised me. One was just the flowers and the blooming everything. It was these huge pots of flowers and all colors.
Oh, Pat, this is so funny. This is literally right outside my office right here in downtown Anchorage. So
Seriously.
yeah, that's our municipality. We plant over 80,000 flowers during the summer. So we like to be the city of flowers because we have all that midnight sun, right? We get 22 hours of daylight in the summertime. So our flowers, they start in greenhouses during the winter, and then they plant them starting end April, beginning of May. And it just makes our downtown beautiful, and then with all that sunlight, like you're probably talking about the dahlias that we have here, they become like dinner plate dahlias because all that sunlight, they just keep blooming and blooming and blooming throughout the summertime. So it's really cool. And then when you leave Anchorage and go down L Street as you're heading towards the airport, we have what's called the Mystery Garden. So every year it's some type of art form done with the flowers, and our municipality always surprises us, and you have to guess what they're going to do. Last year was a whale coming out. I mean, they just get super creative with our flowers here. So it's just beautiful in downtown Anchorage.
It was stunning. I don't know if it's all of the sunlight you guys get with the midnight sun that just or what it is, but I don't think I've been anywhere that I saw such an array of floral blooms, and it was everywhere from Fairbanks and in the wild as you took the train down.
Mhm.
The fields were just abloom with, and then it was just amazing. And the other thing,
Flowers are amazing. Even our weed, which is a fireweed, is that beautiful pink flower that you see. That is kind of the whole the story behind it is that we watch it bloom all summer, and as it blooms out, that means winter's coming. You know, the fall's coming. So it's always everyone talks about the fireweed here in Alaska. So those are those beautiful pink, or we have the purple, the lupin that you see around too. So yeah, just even our wildflowers love our midnight sun.
it was just gorgeous. The other thing that surprised me was the food. You touched on this.
The food?
The food. I mean, I did not at any point consider Anchorage and Alaska other than salmon, but I never thought of them as you know, a foodie place. But dang if it isn't.
It is. That I think you're right. That's a big surprise for a lot of people, is what a foodie town we are, or a city that we are, because like I mentioned earlier, that diversity that we have here brings every culture you can imagine. You know, like you want the best faux food, you want the best, you know, Italian food. We have those little hidden places everywhere, and then just and farm to table too. We try to do as much fresh, right? So even like if you're doing sushi, you know, that salmon that's on top of that, or that halibut, or that crab is going to be fresher than anywhere else you've ever tried it.
It was a surprise for me. And folks, if you are a foodie, don't, you know, you haven't done it all until you have visited Alaska and checked out not just the seafood, but all of the various options there.
Pat, did you try a reindeer hot dog?
I didn't try a reindeer hot dog, but I did do the reindeer sausage, and it was amazing. It was the best sausage I've ever eaten in my life. So not a hot dog, but I did do the sausage.
Yeah, okay. And everyone's like, oh no, not a reindeer. I'm like, okay, what a reindeer is just a domesticated caribou. So if that helps out on anyone that wants to try a reindeer sausage.
down here, it would be like be, you know, maybe you're a vegetarian but down here you farm cattle. And you know, and nobody thinks twice about eating beef. So
yeah, we just have to get, you know, Santa Claus out of their mind and the reindeer.
That's it.
But it's very delicious. And that's what I was eating in my photo. I love them. And they're right outside. You'll see all the carts in downtown Anchorage. It's so popular here. Like just on downtown Anchorage, that picture of the flowers, that was a hot dog cart that you saw with the yellow umbrella. They're every other block. You'll find them here in the summertime. It's very, very popular.
I would like to try one of those. Now, one of the things that we need to touch on, Tia, is the timing of a visit. Now, obviously, June, July, height of season for tourism, but what about spring and fall?
Yes, in fact, that's a great question, Pat, because yeah, our peak season is June, July, August. Just so much is happening. The midnight sun, the bears are super active, but the bears are also active in May and September. And if you're looking to save a little money, our shoulder season is at the end of April, beginning of May, towards middle of May, and then mid-September going into that first week in October. And let's just focus on May real quick. And April, what's so cool about coming here is things are starting to bloom. So you kind of see Alaska kind of coming alive and blooming. Plus, that's when the baby animals are born. So if you want to see a little baby moose calf or any of those animals, it's so easy to see because, again, we're not in that full bloom. So it's easier to see into the woods to see them. And then in the fall, like September, it's one of my favorite months here because we get it really early here in Alaska. It changes before anywhere else. And so you start getting those fall colors and we're just really vibrant yellows. And then the northern lights start. So we have one of the largest northern light seasons here than anywhere else. So anywhere from mid-August all the way till mid-April, you can actually see the northern lights here in South Central Alaska and in Anchorage. So
it starts in August.
Fall one right here. This is in September. Like you don't have to come in the middle of the winter to see them. You can start seeing them. So, I mean, I love our shoulder seasons, and our last couple of Mays have been really warm too. They've been really nice and just lovely.
Now, I wanted to ask you something because just backtrack. You mentioned moose. I read somewhere that you guys have 1,500 moose in the city of Anchorage. Is that
Yep, we
Really?
share our city with the moose. And in fact, I went home the other night and I went to pull in my driveway and there's a big mama moose just eating one of my birch trees. And I was just like, and she just looked at me like, I'm not done yet. So I literally had to wait for her to finish munching on it and then walk into my front yard so I can actually pull into my driveway. I mean, it's not uncommon every day. You know, I'm 20 minutes from my home to work, and I probably see moose almost every day along the highways in my neighborhood, even sometimes right down 4th Avenue here in downtown Anchorage.
And
So
they are huge. They are
they're massive.
humongous. They just take your breath away when you see them.
Again, I've lived here my whole entire life, and here's me taking pictures of this moose in my driveway. I'm like, I don't know how many moose pictures I have on my phone, but I take one every time.
Why would you not? Now, I got to ask this one. Do people actually come up there in the wintertime? What's it like up there in January? You're in February. You can tell us what's
Yeah,
it like.
it is. It's actually beautiful. I think we're going to be about 25 degrees today, which sounds cold, but we are surrounded by 6 mountain ranges and we're right on the water. The Cook Inlet is our face, right? And then we're hugged by the 2 arms, the Kinnick Arm and the Turnagain Arm. So we're a very maritime climate. So it's not, and we don't really get those winds. So it's 25 is really great. We get to 40. People in Alaska are wearing their shorts. Oh, this is a great temperature and daylight. So we're gaining light. So our coldest and darkest day, or our darkest day is December 21st. That's winter solstice. But in Anchorage, we still get 5.5 hours of daylight. A lot of people think we're cold and dark the whole entire winter, but the further north you get, because we're such a large state, right? So let's just compare it to Florida. Alaska is so big that you can fit the state of Florida into it 11 times. So that is just massive. So
11 times.
11 times, 11 Floridas fit in one Alaska. So that kind of gives you a good perspective. But, you know, up in the Arctic, they won't, once that sun sets in November, they don't see it for 82 days. So those are the polar nights. We get that, but not here in Anchorage. So then now we're gaining daylight every day, almost 5 minutes a day. And just yesterday, our news was like, hey, we hit 10 hours of daylight. And we just kind of celebrate the light returning, but we're okay with those darker nights because again, the aurora, you know, we're getting the dancing of the lights. We get the alpenglow. We get the
There
really
it is again.
above our mountains, which is just, I mean, we all talk about our sunrises and sunsets and the northern lights when we don't have the midnight sun. So then the midnight sun, all we're talking about is all the sunlight. So it's beautiful here. It's amazing here. Our winter actually has grown by about 25% because people realize the glaciers are still open. We have an amazing ski resort. You can go snowshoeing, fat tire biking, and then the northern lights. You know, Alaska's really done a really great job of like saying, hey, you know what? We know Iceland has them, but did you know Alaska has them too? And the probability of seeing them here, you stay 3 nights, you have an 80% chance. Like that is phenomenal. And then a great way to travel is our Alaska Railroad also has their Aurora train operating. So we're super excited. Also this week, we kick off our big winter carnival. It's the Fur Ronde Festival. So that kicks off today, actually. So we have snow sculptures going on. I'm actually playing in a snowshoe softball tournament this weekend.
Oh, fun. How fun is that?
Exactly. They have outhouse races. They have, you know, running with the reindeer. There's just all these quirky, funny, there's ice bowling. There's just, we're super excited for the next 2 weeks to have all these really great, fun winter outdoor activities. And that leads into the Iditarod. So if you are interested in coming in to Alaska, next year will be the 50th running of the last great race, which is the Iditarod, our one professional sport here. I know Florida, you've had some luck with some football and baseball teams this year. We have dogs and they're our athletes, and they're coming up on their big race here the first weekend in March.
And
but in 2022, it'll be the 50th year, which is cool.
If you go up there, if you're a dog person at all, please do plan to visit one of the dog sled, one of the kennels. Those dogs are so fun, and they are just, first they have an educational segment to teach you all about it, and then you actually get close-up personal time with the dogs. If you're a dog lover, be sure to include a visit to one of those kennels on your trip. They are.
You usually get a hold of puppy too, right, Pat?
Oh, yes.
It's a future champion.
How can I put this in my pocket? But you know what?
Exactly.
Those dogs take a lot of exercise.
They do. Yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, I want to take them home." We're like, they're breeded to run, so you got to realize these guys have a lot of energy.
Yeah, yeah, you've got to really they're not easy to keep up with for the average person, and so I think, Tia, that you probably have helped dispel a preconception that people have now that since the cruise industry is more, I guess they last season nothing happened. This
Right.
season it's looking pretty questionable,
Yeah.
I must say, but. Uh, Alaska is not tourism up there is not dead in the water just because the cruise season is not happening, right?
Absolutely. Like, yes, I mean, is the cruise industry huge for Alaska? Absolutely. It last in 2019, it brought 1.4 million people to Alaska. Like, you just can't, that is a great way to move numbers through Alaska, and it's phenomenal, right? So without those, it's like it was a big hit for our state, right? We're like, okay, how can we pivot? And so I think we've done a really great job of pivoting and changing. We were one of the first states to remain open when everything happened. We're like, we're still open, but we're going to put these mandates. You have to have that PCR COVID test 72 hours prior to departure. So as long as you can get that test, we're saying get that test. You have that negative test. Come to Alaska. We have so much land to explore. This is why we live here. You won't
Now,
see if you don't want to see anyone. Okay, no problem.
now,
Get
Tia,
out onto one of our roads and you won't see anyone,
question for you. I just recently read that they were going to waive that. So do you know that? Have you heard?
Yeah, so we were one of the first states to offer that. On February 15th, our governor has let that mandate slide and say, okay, we're not requiring it, we're just recommending it. So,
Okay.
and before, if you came here without a test, it cost you $250 to have that test at our airport. Well, now if you want to be tested at our airport, we're doing that for free. So again, we've really kept our numbers low here in Alaska. So a lot of our tour operators and attractions are asking people to still take that test. It's easier to get now than ever before. It's just to know that you're safe, they're safe, while you're here, everyone's safe, and it's just that comfort level. So
Yeah.
it's not required anymore, but it really is recommended.
Yeah. Very good. Well, is there anything important that we haven't covered today that you want to get the message out?
Just that, I mean, like, just to say we are open, and if you are, whether you're vaccinated or feel safe to travel here, know that everyone here in Alaska has really stepped up their game to make sure our restaurants, our tours, and everything is taken care of. Those that made it last summer, and even us Alaska residents, it's different, right? You don't have the crowds. You don't have the tourists. We're at about maybe 50% of the capacity. So I think the animals know that too. So you have more unique opportunities and more opportunities to see the wildlife. We're having more lynx running around than we've ever seen before. But I think it's just because there's not that movement that they're used to. And so if you feel safe, hopefully maybe you've gotten that vaccine, try to come to Alaska this summer, because it's going to just be a little bit more personal than ever before. And even this in 2020, they let people drive cars into Denali National Park. That has never been offered to visitors before. So
Wow.
just really unique opportunities that are opening up to help recover. So we're just going to, if you can make it, this is the time to do it. If not, we understand that, and we're going to keep moving forward and push on to 2022. And I think Alaska is a great destination to choose.
And guys, we are happy to help with that. Just reach out to us. We will help orchestrate. Well, I'll work with Tia and we'll orchestrate a custom itinerary just to suit your preferences and what you like to do. It's not one size fits all. We will put it together for your interests and what you want to see and do. So it just never seems like our time is long enough. And but I hope, friends, that you found the time well spent, and that we've left you with some useful and helpful information and insights. Hopefully, you will consider a visit to awesome Anchorage very soon. We'd love to help you along the way with that. We have a giveaway for March, and the word for the day, just if you want to win this awesome set of binoculars. These are really good binoculars. These are not junk, folks. These folding binoculars are great for travel. Have a limited night vision feature. The word of the day, just put in the comments the word Anchorage, and you will be automatically entered. You can enter up to 5 times this month. You can put that word in each time you watch an episode of Let's Talk Travel Live with us on Tuesday evenings. So we have a big lineup for you for March. Today was Visit Anchorage. We have Holland America next week, the Alaska Railroad. We have Dove Island Fishing Lodge coming on with us on the 23rd, and then we'll be featuring small ship cruising. So we're trying to cover all the bases and we want everybody to visit Alaska. If it's not on your bucket list, it needs to be.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, thank you again, Tia. So appreciate your time, and we will be in touch when we've got people coming to Anchorage. I will be reaching out to you for ideas and work closely with you in planning those itineraries. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and join us again next week for Let's Talk Travel. Bye now.
Bye. Be safe. Stay well. Thank you.